J. Warner Wallace is a cold case homicide detective who's been investigating cold case murders in Los Angeles County for over a decade. His work has been featured on Fox News, Dateline, and Court TV. Now, we join him as he applies his investigative skills to making a case for Christianity.
Thanks once again for joining us at Cold Case Christianity. I am J. Warner Wallace. Now, usually when I do an episode, I spend a lot of time researching, gathering my sources, presenting enough graphic material, at least the websites that I might be referring to, so you can see it in our NRB weekly show or hear it on our weekly podcast. But today I'm not going to do any of that because I really want to talk about something from the heart. I've got some notes on my desk related to Christian celebrity and some of the dangers that I think I see right now in culture and what we're trying to do to shift the approach that we're taking as Christian case makers at coldcasechristianity.com and on all of our social media platforms. Look, this hit me after Ravi Zacharias, and I did not say much following Ravi, not because I was trying to protect, I was just trying to let due process run its course, and I also felt like there were a lot of people who had already kind of launched on that, who jumped on that opportunity, and I felt like in some situations it was really about this issue of celebrity. Like we sometimes choose what we talk about because we think it'll get more clicks. And so we talk about these provocative hot topic issues, and I didn't want to do that because it seemed to me that celebrity was at the root of Ravi Zacharias and is at the root of what we do as public Christians who are making the case for Christianity. Look, there's a danger in this, and it's the danger that Ravi faced. And when I saw that whole thing go down, and if you know anybody who knows me, you'll know I was talking about it for years prior to it because I had suspicions about motive, what it is that causes us. You know I always talk about the three motives behind any misbehavior, the three motives behind any murder I've ever investigated, behind any crime I've ever investigated. They're always the same three motives. It's financial greed, sexual lust, and the pursuit of power. And that third category, the pursuit of power, is where celebrity lies. Because power is about authority, respect, pride, your position, how people see you, how you perceive yourself in front of a group. These are all prideful aspects. Now look, these are all three things that God can use for good. They have been designed for good, but we have a tendency to corrupt them. We have a tendency to pervert them, to do evil. This is the nature of who we are. And so I knew early on when there were discussions with Ravi about credentials and whether or not he had an earned PhD and all of that stuff, I worried that was there something driving that third category of, who am I? Do you respect me? Do I have authority? And that's what drives celebrities sometimes. So let me give you a few principles that I think will help you to think clearly about celebrity, and we'll talk about them and see how they move protect yourself and how we are trying to shift what we're doing also to protect us. I think the most influential way you can impact culture is really not about whether you advertise, whether you are on these social media platforms, whether you're making videos, whether you're on social media, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Facebook, all that stuff. It's really about trusted authority. Trusted authority. When people see you as a trusted authority, they begin to listen. And that's what we're really trying to do, right? Is to help. Look, that's why I stay in my very small lane of looking at these issues from an investigative perspective, using the same tools I would use working in any cold case. I use those same tools. That's how I became a Christian. That is the limited expertise I bring to you, right? I do not claim to be a Bible scholar. I do not claim to be a literary scholar. I do not claim to be any of those things. Instead, I'm telling you, I see ways in which we could apply a cold case ideology to the investigation of Christianity. And in that sense, I do feel qualified because I've worked so many cold cases. So I think that's where I keep that's the trusted authority I hope that I have gained with you and why you're listening to this podcast, why you look at our YouTube channel, or why you watch our NRB TV show, is that you know that I have expertise in this one area. And I stay in my lane because that's important, because I want to be a trusted authority in this very small, narrow lane. And I'm okay with that. But trusted authority is different than celebrity. And I'll tell you, I struggled with this myself early on after opportunities were afforded to me that created a certain amount of celebrity for me in my own community. Well before I ever wrote a book, well before I ever started doing any of this. I was on Dateline. I think we've had 6 cases on. That's more than any other agency, more than any other single detective has ever been on Dateline. And that provided me with a certain amount of celebrity. And then I was in a movie, God's Not Dead 2. And that provided me with a certain amount of celebrity. And I started to struggle with this because this notion of celebrity is dangerous because it's one of the 3 motives that ultimately can lead to bad behavior, right? It's hard not to be corrupted by these 3 things: financial gain, sexual lust, pursuit of power. And I could see, this is something that I see in the world around us how many pastors, and now this world-renowned apologist, have fallen because of one of these 3 things. And I've always said, if you simply protect yourself in those 3 areas, you'll be okay. But here's a dirty little secret I'm going to share with you that may explain what we saw with Robbie. It turns out if you start to tickle any one of those 3 things, sex, money, power, if you start to pursue any of those 3 things, if you start to kind of let your guard down against any of those 3 things, eventually all 3 things will be a problem. You might say, well, no, I'm not interested in the sex or the power. I just have a financial need. Oh, I'm not interested in the money or the sex. I just want to be able to have more influence on culture. If you allow yourself to chase any of those 3 things, trust me, the other 2 will eventually rise with the 3rd one that you're chasing. And what we saw with Robbie was that as his power rose, his stature globally, and as the financial means rose, the opportunity then rises for the sexual temptation as well. Because let's face it, at some point, how do you get the 3rd thing? Well, you offer money or you're somebody. And this is how everyone who corrupts those 3 things operates. Eventually, 1 or 2 of those 3 things allows you to access the others. And when that happens, you're now tempted on all 3 levels. I used to think, by the way, that everyone's tempted in a different way. No. It turns out those are the 3 things that tempt everybody. And if you allow yourself to pursue even one of them, the other 2 will eventually rise as well. And so the danger in celebrity, and that's in the power section, influence, authority, respect, is if you chase it and allow that to become your God, you allow that to become the thing that you're so possessed about, eventually you're going to have problems, or temptations at least, in the other 2 areas. And we see this over and over again with national leaders. And they think, well, it's a good thing, isn't it? Isn't it a good thing to want to have more influence? Isn't it a good thing to leverage celebrity and want to become somebody so that you can have better opportunities to preach the gospel? Look, this is what I fear, is that many of us begin by trying to grow our public platform, to grow our celebrity in a sense, right? How many people know us on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, TikTok, whatever it may be, because we want to preach the gospel. We want to use this growing platform to preach the gospel. At what point do we shift then and start to preach the gospel because we want to grow the platform? That's just the opposite, right? There's where we have to guard ourselves, is that, look, I get it. We're in a world right now where if you want to be heard in this noisy world, Michael Hyatt wrote a book called Platform, Being Heard in a Noisy World. And I get it. We all want to be, nobody writes a book, they want no one to read. Nobody creates a video, they want no one to watch. No one records a podcast, they want no one to hear. And how do we get heard? Well, we get heard by growing our social media platform, becoming somebody so that we can be heard. I will tell you that I can't tell you how many publishers I've worked with over the years. We're getting ready to write book number 8. Well, we just wrote book number 8, so we're getting ready to write book number 9. Book number 8 will be coming out in September. Look, publishers will often ask you 2 questions. I always say this when I teach on these courses at Biola at SES. They'll ask 2 questions. Number 1, what's the idea for your book? Okay, great. Who are you? It turns out the only question that matters is the second question. Who are you? Because if you're the right kind of person who can sell your own book, you've got a national radio show, let's say, or you've got some national platform, you've got X number of people on YouTube, you're going to get a book deal from a publisher Not because your book is all that great necessarily. I mean, I hope it is. But really more because they are concerned about your celebrity. We have to make sure that we are focused on our trusted authority. And by the way, you might think if you're listening to this, well, I don't have any trusted authority. I'm not. Yes, you are. You are a trusted authority in some way. This is why I always say you have to think about what is it about your unique experiences as a Christian, your unique lifestyle as a Christian, your unique setting as a Christian that allows you to have very specific authority in a certain area. You experience things only the way that you... And by the way, there's lots of people who will relate to that, even though they don't relate to me. Every one of us can become a trusted authority in some way if we simply stay in our lane and leverage the life that God has given us. And so I think all of us are really seeking to help us develop where are we trusted, what places can we have a voice in community with our friends so we can share the gospel. And that is really the goal, right, is to share the gospel. In the end, publishers rather, ask those two questions. What's the idea for your book? And they don't really care what the idea for your book is. As long as you're somebody, whatever idea you have, they are probably going to publish you because it's all about the celebrity. Now, there's the danger. Number one, the danger is that if you allow that pursuit of power, celebrity, to rule you, you will eventually open the door to the other two areas of temptation. These three things, sex, money, power, are connected. They're always connected. People will leverage two of them to get the third all the time. We've seen it happen just last year. You'll see it happen again. We have to protect ourselves from celebrity. Look, are we really after trying to help people see why we're a trusted authority in this area? Or are we trying to become rich and famous by doing this? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. I was recently in a conversation with another author and a Christian apologist. We were talking about marketing. Look, I often say this, anyone can write a book. That's not the hard part. Getting someone to read your book, that is the hard part. You will spend far more time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears on the marketing side than you will on the writing side. Isn't that sad? But it's true. Like I said, nobody writes a book they want no one to read. So you're going to have to spend time helping people to find the book, helping people to understand why it's important to read the book, and that ends up being this dirty little thing we call marketing. And a lot of marketing is about you. They want to identify, the ideas with somebody. It's about branding. What is the brand? Often the brand is a person. This is why we have so many ministries, right, that begin or have as the name of their ministry the actual servant. Whoever it is that's leading this. RZIM is a good example of that. And I have always been hesitant to do that. Now, yes, we've actually purchased the URL, jwarnerwallace.com. And we've never used it. If you run it now, if you Google it, or if you put it in your browser, it's going to come right back to Cold Case Christianity. We just wanted to protect the URL, but we decided we weren't going to use my name as the platform. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because I'm trying to protect myself from this notion of celebrity. I'll tell you, I'm uncomfortable with it, and I've been uncomfortable for a long time. One of the most uncomfortable things you can do, and we do it all the time, right? We get asked to speak. And I didn't have any idea this is where this was going. Because to write a book, I had no idea that eventually would launch a speaking career. I don't want another career. I had a career. I'm in my retirement. I'm actually enjoying getting to tinker on old cases, getting to tinker as a chaplain at my agency, getting to tinker writing books. But it turns out a lot of what I do now is speak around the country. And what's troubling about that is trying to help people to see that what's important is not me. It's what we're talking about. Whenever you do an event where you have somebody who is live streaming it, they'll ask you, okay, you have this media you use, this PowerPoint. Well, yeah, I use a lot of visual media. I do not want you to put a camera on me. Please, once the talk starts, just go right to the media. Well, that doesn't work because sometimes we end up with a TV on the stage, so I can be seen along with the media. I don't want me to be seen. I want the media to be seen because what is the star of the show is the case for Christianity, not J. Warner Wallace. Maybe that's part of just aging, I think it is, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I'm less and less comfortable with what I look like in front of a camera. So, you know what? I'm fine with you just focusing on the case for Christianity, which I've made visual for a reason. I think we're in a visual world that wants to see the case made visually, and I'm more than happy to do that. That's where I love working as an artist anyway, so let me do that. And also, it takes the limelight off the speaker. That one of the more uncomfortable aspects of speaking engagements is that afterwards you'll see that people want to come to your table where your books are. I want to sign books. I want to talk to people. But at some point, someone's going to ask to take a picture with you. And of course, you're going to say yes. And there's an aspect of that is really troubling for me, because why do they need... These things never end up on anywhere anyway. But I mean, why do we do that? We do that because I don't know why we do. It's part of the celebrity culture. I don't want to be part of a celebrity culture. So how can we move forward in such a way? Look, there is no New Testament example of paid public Christians. And I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to be somebody who's deriving I have a pension. That's how we pay our bills. A pension as a detective. And that's where it needs to stay. We don't want to pursue, I don't want to be a paid public Christian. That's not my goal, because I see no model for this. I could be wrong. I'm correctable, so write to me if you think I'm wrong on that. I had a conversation recently with somebody who's a lead singer and songwriter of a Christian band for years, a really significant Christian band. And we were talking about this, and I love his work, and I love the work of this band. I mean, it's one of I was sharing with him as we were talking that I think I owned every single CD they ever put out. I had in my playlist. I purchased those back in the old days on iTunes. Okay, I didn't like to stream them from Spotify, so I actually invested in this band, and I felt like this guy was just a remarkable songwriter, a remarkable singer. It was a great band, Christian band. And I asked him, I said, it seems like we're seeing a lot of deconversion stories, a lot of deconstruction stories from singers, songwriters, musicians in Christian bands. And all of these bands kind of were the bands that blew up about the same time. I remember in the early 2000s, I was a youth pastor. And a lot of these bands, the kind of the DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline, all these bands were kind of coming up at the same time. And there was a sudden surge of Christian rock or Christian pop or Christian whatever, CCM, contemporary Christian music. And I don't think we've seen it since. I mean, honestly, I don't see it now as much as I saw it then. I mean, all kinds of Third Day. Whatever there were, all these bands kind of came up at the same time. And some of those lead singers and musicians have now left the faith very publicly. Isn't that interesting? Well, why? I'm not even sure that any of these folks were really... I think the opportunities to become celebrities were there in a window of opportunity of about maybe 5 years in which they were signing bands left and right. And I think this, as I asked this singer, songwriter, and leader of this Christian rock band, am I wrong about this? Am I crazy about this? Or does it seem to you like there was a window in which all kinds of opportunity was available for celebrity in the contemporary Christian music niche? And all kinds of people came up through there, and none of these were vetted. We don't even know if any of these folks were actually Christians. Many were not. So now that they are no longer Christians, why are we surprised? What is driving you? That, to me, it begs the question, what is driving us? Is it because we want to leverage whatever respected authority we have and whatever weird field we have, whatever life that God has given us, to leverage the gospel? Or are we really seeking celebrity from the gospel? And that's something I think we have to ask ourselves that'll help protect us going forward. It's like if I drew you a diagram, what is leading to what? There are lots of people who have leveraged their celebrity to preach the gospel. And there are lots of folks who are preaching the gospel to achieve celebrity. And there's the difference. There's lots of celebrity pastors, right? Why are they celebrities? Well, because they were preaching the gospel and they became celebrities as a result of preaching the gospel. That's where the real danger lies. Far more than if you're a celebrity who then ultimately takes your celebrity and leverages it toward the gospel. Think about that. There's lots of people who became celebrities and became famous before you ever knew that much about their Christian faith. Tim Tebow is one of those, right? I mean, he became famous and a celebrity based on his Heisman Trophy level play, right, in college football. And then he leveraged that to preach the gospel. That to me is a better way to use what, even if you didn't want the celebrity, you used the celebrity to do something greater. You weren't chasing celebrity through the preaching of the gospel. You preached the gospel as a result of your celebrity. There's another set of people that I listen to them all the time. That's the folks from Duck Dynasty, right? All those guys, Phil, Jace Robertson, over at the Unashamed podcast. I listen to that podcast all the time. And why? I'm fascinated by how people who really weren't seeking this kind of celebrity ended up leveraging their celebrity to preach the gospel. And now they have a podcast where that's what they do on every single show. Yeah, they talk about their lives, and they are great storytellers. But they're just leveraging the celebrity that came to them by way of a TV show. Even today, leveraging it to do what? Oh, to go through, so far they've gone through John and Acts, and now they're in Romans. They are line by line going through the gospel, going through the letters of Paul, going through the work of Luke and Acts to preach the gospel and leverage the celebrity. They aren't leveraging the gospel for celebrity, they're leveraging celebrity for the gospel. And I think as long as we remember, if we catch ourselves trying to leverage the gospel for a celebrity, we ought to slap ourselves in the face and say, no, that's just not what this is about. That is not why we're doing this. One of the things I talked about with this apologist that writes books that we were talking on the phone, is I told her, I said, I've really started to shift away from, and we're just starting to do this. One of the things that advances celebrity and grows your celebrity is simply when it focuses on your image. Like, what do I want you to remember? Do I want you to remember the content of our teaching, or do I want you to remember J. Warner Wallace? I'm as guilty as anyone of focusing on the person rather than the message. Now, I'll tell you where this becomes so painfully obvious, and what the first change we're going to make. And we just started making this change about, 3 weeks ago? So it's going to take a while for to the entire... I'm not going to go back and do all of the content, rework all the content to change this. I'm just going to change this going forward. We're on YouTube. And if you look at YouTube thumbnails, you will see the same thing over and over again. Whoever it is who's got that channel has got some picture of themselves in the thumbnail. Usually got a white outline. We did this too. We all did this, okay? So if you're talking about something where you're going, why would this be so? The person who is the host of the show has got this look on his face like, why would this be so? Surrounded by the white outline. It's all about the person who's speaking. I looked at my YouTube channel at all the playlists and I realized it's my picture or my son Jimmy's picture over and over and over again. And I see a lot of other apologists doing the same thing, and their pictures are even more outrageous. They're goofy pictures. The goofier the expression, whatever you can do to capture someone's, and I get it. Apparently, people have realized that this approach to thumbnails draws more traffic. Okay. Over it. I'm over it. We have now gone back and started to do thumbnails where we take our pictures out altogether. I don't want to be seen. I don't want this to be about me. It needs to be about what is the video about. Now look, I was talking to this apologist who's an unbelievable marketer, somebody who understands marketing very well. And the statement was made, well, look, this is the nature of marketing though. You may actually hurt your opportunity to preach the gospel. Okay, I'm okay with that. If more of us simply preach the gospel, it wouldn't matter. But this cannot be about me and my thumbnail versus somebody else and their thumbnail. This cannot be about me at all. We need to be invisible. The message is more important. When you do a show where it's just you standing in front of a camera like I do every week, it's pretty easy to get caught up into the celebrity of just you. It's not about me. It's not about any of us. It's about, is the Bible true and should we take it seriously? That's it. It's not about anything else. So how do we move forward and abandon this growing platform building sense of celebrity, because this is what builds platforms. Celebrity builds platforms. It's look what I did now. Look what I did then. We are slowly shifting away from all that. It'll take a while. If you go to my YouTube page right now, probably I still got my image of my face in the header. We're changing all of that. Now, it takes a while for me to change these things because I don't have a staff. It's just me. Like, when am I going to get to redoing all the graphics? Probably by the end of summer, at least by the middle of summer, I hope to have changed all the graphics by July maybe. It's going to take a while, right? Because I'm not going to go back and change 1,000 video thumbnails. I'm not doing that. But going forward, we realize that if Ravi Zacharias taught us anything, it's the danger of Christian celebrity. Let's all of us be committed. Whether you're somebody who doesn't even have a platform yet, or you're interested in sharing the gospel with somebody you know, let's make sure that we are gospel-centric, that we are not about, well, you should trust me. It's not me-centric. It's gospel-centric. And let's make sure that we resist the temptation to allow celebrity to corrupt us. All right, that's my rant on this week's podcast. I hope it's helpful for you. I'll see you right here next week at Cold Case Christianity.